I reckon everybody's greeted their neighbor, and you're all happy to be here, I hope. Before I dive in, I got to get a few questions out of the way to make sure we're on the same page. Anybody in here can say, hey, I want to be closer to God? For a minute, y'all raise your hands like, well, class dismissed. Make this easy on you. All right, so you'll be close to God. Anybody want to see God move in their life? Like, you know He's going to see Him move? Yeah. Want to have more faith? All that stuff good. Anybody want to be like more financially stable? Yeah, praise the Lord. All the parents, yes, Lord, bring it. Anybody want to be a better parent? That's not bad. Husband, wife? Okay. We got a pretty good motivated crowd here. Anybody want to be an athlete? I'm still holding on to hope that one day I can be a great athlete. I'm still like, my time ain't come yet. I'm getting there. All right, that's good. I want to make sure that we're on the same page. The crazy thing about everything I just named off is that none of that is probably going to happen on its own. You're not just going to wake up tomorrow morning and go, holy cow, look at all this money in my bank account. Or you're not just going to wake up one day and your kids be loving you and behaving. And, some of these things, you kind of got to get yourself in position to allow it to happen. Anybody see the Mayweather and McGregor fight? Anybody disappointed? Pastor watched it illegally. He bootleg. Pray for him. Edit that clip. I kind of want to talk about, I'm going to start off by talking about getting in position and the value of getting in position, no matter what you're doing, how important it is. Let's just say Mayweather, McGregor, right? Am I saying that right? It don't sound McGregor. Is that right? I can take him. Who do y'all think is the toughest? Let me try to Mayweather, McGregor. I know Mayweather won, but who do you think would be the toughest? Okay, well, let's go with McGregor then. Let's just say McGregor showed up today. Let's just say I called him out. I said, listen, boy, I'm going to take you down in front of the whole church. Boy, I'm going to take you down in front of the whole church. I don't care what you think. Let's just say he came. And we set up a ring here. Boy, I'm about to get him. The bell rings, and I come up to McGregor, and he just stands here like this right here. He don't get in position, so I'm like, shoot. I hit him one time and kind of back up, and he just stands there. So I'm like, shoot. Kick him one time. He still don't move. Guess what? If he never got in position, an average man like Matthew could still take him out. I might can take him out. No, I couldn't. I wouldn't get in the ring. If I get in the ring, it's because my kids or my wife's life is in trouble. That's the only way I'm getting in the ring with him. But if you're not in position, you can get defeated by something that normally you would not have been defeated by if you're in position. Speaking of getting in position, I got a quick story, and the days be pretty quick too. So if you're planning on going to a pool party after this, you're good. Whatever your Labor Day weekend plans are. But talking about getting in position, let me take you back to it was sixth or seventh grade. I had hair, but I weighed I'm gonna say 86.3 pounds. I'm talking about scrawny, cuz I'm talking about pinky style all the way down. Yeah, little arms, but I was the son of a farmer. How many farmer kids we got in here are farmers? All farmers think they're tough, okay? I go up on the farm, and boy, you hear farmers talk like, I don't need to go to the gym. I'm farm strong, son. I'll lift stuff all day long. So here I am. I'm the son of a farmer. I know I'm strong. Why? Because I heard other people say they were. So I'm just going with it. But anyhow, there's this guy, and we go to school, and I am scrawny, but I'm bad now. Don't mess with me. And we would go to the bathroom. It'd be semi-appropriate. They would send you to the bathroom, and so you go to, ladies, in case y'all don't know, we have stalls. We have stand-up units in our facilities. You can stand up. It's crazy, right? So we would go, and you walk in, and and I had to get in position. And as I'm doing what God created us to do, this one guy I thought was funny to spin me around. All right? Spin around. And this didn't happen one time. It happened a couple times. I even did my threat. But stop, man. Don't say nothing about my mama. That was the thing back in the day, right? Say something about your mama. It don't matter what. You better say about my mama, But But so he did it a few times, and I was like, man, I don't know what to do with this. Like, this is getting like, really, I was like, I'm going to have to do something. So I was a good kid, really, I didn't want to get in trouble. So I go home like, Daddy, this guy, he keeps spinning me around, Daddy, he's embarrassed me in the bathroom. And my daddy, being the God-fearing Christian man he is, said, well, son, so what you going to do? He said, you're going to go in there, and you're going to get in position. I said, yes, sir, I am. He said, when you go in there, he said, you get in a position. He said, don't fully prepare to use the bathroom, just get in position. He said, when he comes up to you, now he's done had a talk, like, have I talked about this? Have I tried to be nice? Okay, we done passed that point, okay? We just like, there ain't no help now, okay? I ain't gonna be no towel, so I ain't telling the teacher, we're gonna handle this like men. So he said, you get in position. He said, you get in position, and you act like you're using the bathroom. He said, when he comes near you, he said, son, he said, you get your hand ready. He said, when you hit him, he said, you give him everything you got, and don't you let off. I was like, oh, yes, Lord. He's like, and when you do, you beat him. He said, you call me, I'll come pick you up. I was like, do I have to go to work? You know. So anyhow, the day comes, dude, and I am pumped. I'm like, I ain't never got in trouble. I'm about to destroy this dude, boy. I'm like, I feel like Conor McGregor. I'm like, I'm about to take him down. So, you know, I go in there, and I'm just like, boy. I don't know. He must think so. I go in, and I get in position. And I ain't using the bathroom, and I'm just like, yeah. You know, I'm just like, you know, that paranoid, like, just wait for him to come in. It's like, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm over here practicing Karate Kid, like, you know, practicing moves. Anyhow, I don't know if dude saw what was going on, because he came in, and maybe I gave it away. All right, maybe I won't relax. Maybe he saw me like, because never touched me, man. He never touched me. In the story, I never got to fight. I'm sorry, but I really wanted to. You know, I was like, I have permission. So that shows you that sometimes getting in position alone, you still can win. Just by me getting in position, I didn't have to fight. And guess what? He never spun me around. It could be because I did let a little secret out. Before we had Barrington, I was like, if you touch me down, I'm going to kill you. Maybe it was because I said that, or maybe he saw my ninja stance from the back. I don't know. But either way, there's power in getting in position. We're going to turn to Mark. We are going to get hold. We are going to read some scripture today, I promise. Mark 10, we're going to start in verse 46. And honest to goodness, like, this is probably one of my favorite stories in the Bible, one of the favorite things that happen, because there's so much that can be taken away. In case you didn't know, Jesus was a big deal. And the word, when he was on this earth walking around, like, people heard about him. I mean, it was a big deal to know that Jesus was walking through your town or coming. So people really get excited, and they want to see what he had to do. So anyhow, this is like, Jesus was here. Let me get in here. Then they reached Jericho. This is Jesus' disciples. And as Jesus' disciples left town, a large crowd followed him. Because when Jesus walked, like, there was a big crowd, because he was healing people, doing all this crazy stuff. Like, it was like the best show in town. And a blind beggar named Bartimaeus, son of Timaeus, that's kind of cool, was sitting beside the road. When Bartimaeus heard that Jesus of Nazareth was nearby, he began to shout, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. He's a blind guy. He's heard about Jesus. The reason he was a beggar is in this day and time, pretty much if you had any physical element, anything that wasn't normal, if you were blind or if you were lame or if you had a skin disease, a lot of people considered you were cursed by God, that you had sinned greatly, or your parents had sinned greatly, and you were pretty much an outcast. There was no job for you. So most blind people or anybody with any kind of disability ended up being a beggar. That was what they did. So here, Bartimaeus had heard about Jesus. And he actually could hear him coming, because here's this crowd, and I'm sure other people are saying his name. So it's like a big deal when Jesus comes. A lot of times they talked about when Jesus would go place, people would literally be just around him, kind of just like surrounded. So like he would literally could hardly even walk, because people were just trying to just get near him and touch him and stuff. But Bartimaeus hears him, and he starts crying out, Jesus, son of David, have mercy on me. Then it says, as he did that, when Bartimaeus heard, be quiet, many of the people yelled at him. But he only shouted louder, Son of David, have mercy on me. And when Jesus heard him, he stopped and said, tell him to come here. So they called the blind man. Cheer up, they said. Come on, he's calling you. So Bartimaeus threw aside his coat, jumped up, and he came to Jesus. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked. My rabbi, the blind man said, I want to see. And Jesus said to him, go, for your faith has healed you. And instantly the man could see, and he followed Jesus down the road. Some of you aren't seeing the results you want because you're not getting in position. And sometimes if you don't allow yourself to get in a position, then you don't get the results you want. You said yourself, you want to be closer to God. You want to have a better relationship with God. Like you raised your hand to that. Pretty much everybody did it. But some of you aren't seeing the results you want. You can't figure out why. I'm going to suggest something. I'm going to suggest you go on a diet. Somebody about to get mad. What is he talking about? Is he picking on me? I'm going to suggest you do a diet strategy. Something a little different. So maybe you're not getting in a position. Maybe you're not seeing things you want because you need to diet. The diet strategy. Is anybody weirded out right now thinking, what does he think? Because I see y'all's faces. Y'all just like, what does me losing a few pounds have anything to do with Jesus? I'm just suggesting that you diet. Maybe a different strategy than normal. The diet strategy. It's called do it even though. Some of you need to do it even though. Let me take you back in the story. Let's start back with Bartimaeus. I told you he was blind. He was a beggar. I told you that he was pretty much an outcast, right? But he heard about Jesus. Just like many of you have heard about Jesus in God, in church. You've heard about it. But some of you have never got to experience it. You still have a lot of things that you won't answer, that you want to see do. You still want to get closer. You still want to come in contact with God himself because you hear other people talking about it. But Bartimaeus did something like that. He heard somebody coming. And as a beggar, I'm just going to get down here. I don't know what a beggar looks like, but it says he stood up, so at some point he was down. And he was probably with other beggars. They would sit by gates and entrances and ask for money, food, whatever they could get. But Bartimaeus is sitting here, and he's heard about Jesus. Just like a lot of you heard about Jesus. He heard about the things he could do, just like a lot of you heard about the things he could do. But obviously he's never experienced it. He's still a blind guy. But he's sitting there and he hears the crowd. And he goes, is Jesus in town? Yeah, I heard Jesus in town. He hears him getting close. He goes, I can see him getting in position. Jesus! And remember, he's blind. He don't even know it. Son of David, have mercy on me. Quiet. Be quiet. People tell him to be quiet. So what did it say he did? He quit and he went home. He did it even though they told him to be quiet. He got louder. Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. So he shouted even louder. He did it even though he had to do it even though people were telling him to be quiet. He had to do it even though he had never really fully encountered Jesus. He wasn't sure, but he had to do it even though. He had to die. And as he does that, so he's shouting. He's got himself in position. He's shouting. He don't even know which way, but he's just saying, Jesus, have mercy on me. So he's shouting out to him. And then it says when Jesus heard him, he stopped and said, tell him to come here. So they called the blind man and said, cheer up. Come on, he's calling you. And once he heard it, said Bartimaeus threw aside his coat. I guess his coat stunk, and he didn't want to, I don't know. And he jumped up and he came to Jesus. And then here's another point. Man, y'all gonna love me today. Today's gonna be really quick. He came up to him and said, what do you want me to do for you? Jesus asked. Now, why would the Son of God ask somebody what they need? Don't he know everything? And this guy's blind. It ain't like he's high. I mean, you can obviously tell this man is blind. And Jesus said, what do you need from me? What do you think, Jesus? You know, I thought you knew it all. Why would Jesus ask that? Why would an all-knowing God ask somebody what they need, especially a blind man? Seriously? I would have known the answer to that. Why would he ask him what he needs? Could it be sometimes that God asks us questions or we can maybe he wants us to answer what we stand in need of? Because the truth is, some of you guys don't even know what you stand in need of. You don't really know. And I think Jesus was trying to stir out of him to kind of see what he wanted. Just like maybe God's been dealing with some of y'all trying to stir out of things that's in your life. Maybe he's asking you, what do you need from me? One of the verses in the Bible you hear it talked about a lot is the King James Version is how I heard a lot of it says, you have not because you ask not. There's a part of the Bible that talks about a lot of things we don't have that are God's will we get, but we don't even ask. Here Jesus is asking, what do you want? And this same story applies to us now. Jesus is asking, what do you want? And of course, the blind man says, I want to see. And Jesus said to him, go, for your faith has healed you. If the man would have never got in position and started shouting out, and then when he had opposition, people would tell him to be quiet. If he didn't do it even though, they told him to be quiet. If he hadn't kept pressing on, if he hadn't got a little louder, Jesus might not have heard me. He might not have got to come and ask him what does he need. Because when the guy said what he need, if he had told Jesus, I just want some food, Jesus would have just gave him some food and moved on, right? If that's what you want. But he knew what he wanted. He wanted to see. When he asked it, Jesus said, go, for your faith has healed you. And the last part of Scripture I really like, and I always say this, is when you have an encounter with Jesus, something happens. That instantly the man could see, and he followed Jesus down the road. See, when you have an encounter with Jesus, when you have an encounter with God, something happens, and all of a sudden, you're willing to follow him. All of a sudden, you're willing to do it even though you hadn't done it before. You're willing to do it even though you're one of your only friends who's taken that step. You're willing to do it even though you're afraid. You're willing to do it even though you don't quite understand. But see, because it takes faith to get in position to try to pursue God. It takes faith to die. It takes faith to do it even though you don't understand it all. So sometimes you got to just get in position and you got to do it even though nothing else makes sense. I wrote a little note here that says, a good child listens to his daddy. Some of you guys, y'all been hearing from God. Like you've been getting some ideas, different things. Matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and call the band up. I got some other notes. I ain't even going to address them today. I'm going to go ahead and call the band up. But some of you guys, you know what God's calling you to do. I don't know what that is. I'm not even going to try to guess it. Maybe it's something as simple as attend church on a regular basis so you can hear a little bit of his word. And you need to do it even though you like to sleep in on Sundays. You need to do it even though you got a place at the beach or the river, or you need to do it even though you don't like some of the people there. That's one of the main excuses people come to church. There's always going to be somewhere you don't like, somewhere. Even here. Even here, there's probably some people you may not like. I hope I'm not one of them. But you need to do it even though. Some of you guys may just say, hey, I just want to be a better parent. I need to spend more time with my kid. Well, I'm just saying, why don't you do it even though you're tired when you get home? I don't know what your little do it even though moment is. And I'm not going to take a long time, because I guarantee you right now, if God's dealing with you, I'm just trusting that God's dealing with you, that right now something is on your mind. That right now in this very moment you think of, man, I really should probably get in position to allow myself to get here. Because if you really want to draw closer to God and hear from God, you're going to have to do a few things different than maybe what you're used to doing. Your time alone with God's got to become a priority. I'll say this, and I'll probably say it every time I speak. Probably the most powerful thing I do in my life, the most powerful thing, as much as I love church, as much as I love hearing Matthew's messages, as much as I love all that, as much as I love small group, probably one of the most powerful times I ever have where I can just go, God is real, and I feel like I'm just in position to do what he's called me to do, is when it's just me and God. I almost make an appointment. It's like, it's just me and God. I'll just go somewhere, whether the wife and kids are gone somewhere, or if they're home, I may go to my office when nobody's around, shut doors, lock doors. And me personally, something different may work for you, is I just like to crank up some worship music, man. I get on YouTube and I just crank it up, and I just start talking to God. I just start telling him how good he is, how thankful I am, and that if he wants to do something with me, just do something with me, because I'm his. I'm yours. And I just start worshiping. Man, when I walk out of that place, dude, I am in position, because I feel like spiritually my veins are bulging, my biceps are bulging, because I know that I've had an encounter with God. And it don't have to be through some magical way. Some of you, I don't know what you're with. Matthew likes to walk on the phone in the middle of the night. He's weird. I don't know I don't know where your point of contact, where you step out and say, God, I'm going to pursue you because I'm going to assure you that there's nothing better when you know that you're doing what God's called you to do. But sometimes it's not easy. That's why I like that little diet thing. You got to do it even though you're the only one. I look at high school students. I love high school students. A lot of you know I do Young Life. And so many times I think those high school students, God is sitting there waiting saying, I want to use you. But you got to do it even though you're going to be one of the only ones. I want to use you. But you got to do it even though you may not get invited to that next party. I want you to do it even though you don't fully understand all this. So I think God could do so much with them. Then you look at people as they go on the next stage of life. They get busy and they have kids. And I think God's saying, I want to use you. I want to take you further than you've been. But you have to do it even though you're tired, because that kid was up crying a lot last night. I'm asking you to do it even though you're a little stressed out right now because you're working a lot and you still don't hardly have enough. I want you to do it even though. I want you to step. One of my favorite verses is, I think it's in James. It says, draw close to God, and God will draw close to you. So God is saying, come to me. Come near me, and I'm going to come near you. And some of you guys need to take a step, but you got excuses. And I'm asking you to quit making excuses and go on a diet. I'm asking you to try this diet strategy, to do it even though. Do it even though the timing don't seem right. Do it even though. Take a step, because whatever God has called you to do. I want to leave you with this thought. If Bartimaeus hadn't got in position to yell out, if he'd have been intimidated when people said, be quiet, if he'd have been intimidated when he realized that he's just an outcast, he's just a blind beggar, and he'd have quit and went back home, would he have died a blind man? Some of you are missing out on what God has for you because you're not willing to do it even though. You're not willing to do it even though it's out of your comfort zone. You're not willing to do it even though because you already feel that you're better than your neighbor anyway. But if God's calling you more, don't die blind. Bartimaeus could have died blind. I believe if he'd have never yelled, Jesus had people all around him. Even though he had the power, Jesus could just look and point him. But I believe if he'd have sat there quietly, I believe Jesus would have walked out of town. And Bartimaeus would have been the guy in the Bible that said he could have seen, but he never did because he wouldn't allow himself to get in position. And I even think when he yelled the first time, if he hadn't been willing to do it even though he got ridiculed, I still don't think Jesus would have heard him. I still think he would have died blind. So I know some of you, I know for a fact God's calling you to another level. And you're scared and you want to make excuses and you don't feel the time is right, you don't feel you're qualified, you don't feel none of that. And I'm just asking you to do it even though. Apart from all that, I don't know what you need today. I'm going to ask everybody to stand up. And I'm going to ask Matthew to get in position over here. We got a prayer altar over here. We're not going to do anything special, fancy, but God is pursuing you. And some of you guys know it. Some of you don't know it. Maybe for the first time today you're feeling, man, God wants to take me to another level. He wants me to get closer. When I say go to another level, I don't mean he's going to have you preaching next week. It may. There's people in here, I guarantee you, that are called to preach. But it may just mean he wants you to be a happy face. I struggle with as a businessman being sometimes I don't feel like I get to do things of God enough, but I've started trying to change my mentality to when I see customers, when I go places, when I go to McDonald's to order a biscuit, I try to be cheerful, I try to be joyful. That's taking a step towards God. I want people to say, hey, that bald-headed guy is different than most people for whatever reason. I don't care whether I'm at church, whether I'm at work, I want to be different. So some of you, I don't know what God's calling to, but if you want to take another level, a step with God, if you want to come over here, if you want prayer, just ask Matthew or pray by yourself. He'll pray over you. I'm gonna be praying over people. Or maybe you've heard about Jesus, but you've never called out to him. And maybe today you need to call out to him and you need to become one of his children today. So whatever your need is, if you want to stand in your seat and worship, if you want to come in here and pray, but I encourage you, if you want to go a step further, don't do life alone. Small groups are starting, don't try to do life alone. God didn't even intend us to do life alone. So start today by being bold enough to come find somebody to pray with you and take your level to the next level. Do it even though you're afraid.